Now that you have the waistband finished, we need to put the fasteners on. We're going to use sample 13 that you just completed to put a hook and eye and the snaps. There are two types of hook and eyes here. These are just the wire. Oh, look at that, my scissors are magnetized. Wire hook and eye. And this is a straight eye as opposed to a round one. These are trouser hook and eyes, and these are snaps. And these are pretty big snaps, but they're really good for hanging on to in display purposes, so that's what we're going to use. You were taught, if you watch the video or the PowerPoint, that the trouser hook and eyes are put a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So that's where we'll start with this one. So that tells me that the eye, the holes that I need to sew this down are right around this vicinity. So I'm going to come in away from it a bit and get my knot started. So as soon as I lose my thread tails, come back and tie a little bit of a knot right here. Before that loop goes down, go through it. If you do that twice, that is typically enough to secure your thread ends, and you won't have a tail of thread showing. So bring this back up, go through here. Make sure that is an 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. This edge right here. Here's my 1/8 of an inch. And I do radiating stitches. So I come to the outside here and through the hole. And I'll do about 3 stitches in each hole. Since I have double thread, that makes 6 threads. That was plenty secure. And make really sure that you are definitely not going to the wrong side or the right side. I am on the wrong side. So none of these stitches are showing on the right side of the skirt here. And by the way, this is the overlap side. So I'm going to bury my thread and go from this stitch in between the 2 layers and come up underneath the hole over here. And actually, I'm going to come up right through the hole after I'm here. I'm back here. So go through that hole and take my 3 stitches back here on the back side. Remember that I'm only going through the back layer of fabric. And after I take that stitch, same thing, I'm going to travel between my layers and go back over here and come up through that hole. Keep that over there at a 1/8 of an inch. Come up. Oh, sorry. I keep getting out of the picture, don't I? Come through those. And the key here is to make sure that no stitches are coming through to the right side. Come up through that hole. That hole. Now in this case, I'm going to be putting my hook and eye, my other hook and eye right here. So I'm going to go down and come up right here. All right, so this is the trouser hook. Actually, that slipped a little bit and got too far away, but you do yours right. So this type of hook is the wire hook. And by the way, the hooks always get put on the overlap. So when you hook, it gets caught going that direction. So I'm going to come up through that hole right there, hopefully, and get that placed so that the hook, the edge of the hook, is that 1/8 of an inch away. So what I do actually, okay, you know what, start over.
Okay.
I just did this the wrong place. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right, so that's the trouser hook. This is the wire hook, and hooks, as you can see, are always put on the overlap side. So this one is going to get put like this, and the first stitch that we're going to make is the anchor stitch that keeps the hook down and from flapping around. So I'm just going to put a little loop of thread right here, and that allows that hook, see, it's now down, but I can move it around just a little bit. So give yourself, I'm going to give it another loop of thread. And on a real project, you wouldn't have both types of hooks, but you're doing it for the practice. So you can see the stitch that I've made that's allowing this hook to slide up and down so I can position it exactly where I want it. And then I'll come up through the holes of it and do just like I've done with all the others. So radiating stitches, going around and around about 3 times on each side. I'm going to come over to the other side and around and around. And also I'm going to stop and rethread my needle here, because you'll notice that my needle and thread is really short. When you're doing tight little stitching like this, it's a good idea to not have too much thread on your needle. And if you have to sew down several hooks and eyes and snaps, it's better to rethread your needle every once in a while, more often, than it is to have these big long threads that tangle and make your life miserable. So as soon as I get this knot tied right before, so it's before it pulls down tight, go through the loop, and then just like we've done with the buttons and everything else, bury your thread, go between the layers, come up a ways away and cut that thread so that the end of the thread is buried. There's no thread tails hanging out there. All right, the last one is a snap, and a snap has 2 pieces, has the ball and the socket, and they're really easy to get confused, and I've sewn them on upside down and had a grr moment afterwards. So before I sew them on, I typically make sure that I have a ball and a socket. So I put those together, and then I go, okay, that's the ball, and then turn that over, that's the socket. The ball, another way to remember this, when you sew it on, the ball always goes on the overlap side. So I pretend, this is kind of morbid, but I pretend that that ball is like a bullet, like a ball from a gun, and it's aimed to my belly. So you put it on so that once the skirt or pants that you're putting the snap on, that ball is going towards the body. It's going to shoot that person in the belly button or wherever it is. So put this, for our benefit, just right here behind these 2 hook and eyes. So first of all, I have to start my thread again. So same as before, come in between the layers and lose that tail. Whoa, that's off. So I'm just going to cut that one short. Lose that tail end into the fabric, and once they're in there, take a tiny little thread, and all this knot right here will be hidden underneath the snap. So that got off. Oh, I just pulled my threads out. Well, now you saw that it happens to me too. So hold on a minute and we'll get this started up again. Get myself a nice tight secure first knot here. Go through those loops. Okay, let's cut that one off. And the end will just go away. Okay, so come up through my ball. Place this wherever I'm going to put it and take about 3 or 4 stitches in each hole. Because I'm sewing with double thread, I think I'll just do 2 on this. And it might be tempting to kind of do this like a button, come up through one hole and down through another, but you can't do that because then it would go to the back side, and that's not what I want to do. So come over to the next hole and come up through that. Just pick the one layer of fabric so it's not going through to the right side. Come up through that hole. Just work your way around a snap here. Am I staying in the picture? Hopefully. Good. Okay, so hopefully you've seen enough knot tying. That you know how to do that. Just go through that loop and then bury your thread ends between the layers of fabric. Cut that off, and nothing is showing on the back side. Okay.